good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our weekly webinar. The noonday gun has gone off in our Cape Town studio. We're thrilled to kick off yet another insightful webinar session. I'm Neil Peterson. I'm the founder and content-in-chief of Real Estate Investor, South Africa's premier independent real estate news, content, and education platform since 2007. And at REI, we're deeply passionate about serving the South African investor and the South African real estate and business community through our digital platforms, rei.co.za, our monthly digital magazine, Real Estate Investor, and REI's virtual webinars and in-person events. And today I have the pleasure of serving as your host and moderator for this investment webinar, and we're really thrilled to have you join us for this insightful session. And today's topic is unlocking the potential, future residential development opportunities in South Africa. And before I introduce you to our esteemed panelists and delve into our discussion, first some housekeeping. And I extend a warm invitation to all of our esteemed attendees and also, of course, our panelists. And for our attendees, we want you to actively engage with us during the webinar. Your participation enriches our dialogue. So please feel free to ask any questions you may have for our panel, who I will introduce to you shortly. Please utilize the designated Q&A box located on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Remember, it's not the chat box, which is reserved for general comments. We welcome any idea there on possible topics going forward in that box. Rest assured, all your questions will be addressed both during the Q&A panel discussion and our final session. Recordings of today's webinar will be accessible via email if you have registered for this event. We get this is the most common question. Please send us a recording. Yes, we will. So the webinar recordings are also accessible on the rei.co.za website under events on the home page. So let's move on to the heart of today's webinar, unlocking the potential future residential development opportunities in South Africa. And remember, this is a prelude that sets the stage for the Reside Summit that takes place live in Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg from Tuesday the 16th to Friday the 19th of July. So first up, what I would like to do is to introduce you to the chairperson of the 2024 Reside Summit, Debbie Tagg. Welcome to you, Debbie. I know you would like to share some info on the upcoming Reside Summit.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you to our audience for joining, and especially to our esteemed presenters of this webinar. And as Neil, who also serves as chair on the Reside Awards and on our steering committee around content, it's a pleasure. I hope you enjoy the conversations this morning. We're really looking forward to the series of webinars that are these teasers to what we are going to be addressing at seems that's where we're at now, the largest gathering of property investors, developers, and just everyone in the sector in July at the Sandton Convention Center. As many of you may know, we launched last year, and it's actually been such a phenomenal journey as the chair to be able to engage multiple industry bodies that are in support and really filling a need where we need collaboration across the multiple sectors within residential and investment. And especially, I think, given the time where we're looking at a new government structure, so we're all watching the space to see what this combined government is going to look like. But underneath it is still the mechanism of delivery of housing for all. So it is my pleasure as well to share with you that as attendees of this webinar, and of course, being part of the very important community of REI. And this is also just, I think, an amazing way that the committee and the industry has brought together the ability for everyone to attend. What that means is the 17th and 18th, you only pay for 1 day. So anyone coming with that code, make sure you use that, because what we want to do is make sure that everyone is able to attend. Also, have a look at the different programs. You'll notice that it's actually 4 events in one. It's also the largest awards recognition and dinner that will be happening over that week. So the support team behind will basically sleep when we're dead, because it's a very busy next 5 weeks. Hey, Neil, with the steercom.
Absolutely.
And we're just looking forward to making history, and I think the timing of it is very, very well planned. So as I said, the webinar today is a little teaser, not a little actually, I think an important teaser of what we're going to discuss. And thank you everyone for support. Any questions, please go to resideconference.coza. And literally the program over the 4.5 days will talk everything from real estate technology, every sector within residential development, and right down to those that are even investing in property on the side. So there's literally something for everyone. And we are looking forward to the important role. And again, thank you to the support of all those 50 bodies and associations and government agencies that are making it possible. And of course, REI is our strategic media partner. We'll see you there in a few weeks.
Awesome. Great stuff. Thank you, Debbie. Enjoy the rest of Wilderness by the Sea. Wonderful. And we really look forward to an insightful and engaging conference from the 16th to the 19th of July. We'll share more of that info at the end, so you can get that code. And it's going to be available next week, the week after. So for the next 2 weeks, we'll certainly promote that code. If you didn't get it now, we'll promote it also at the end. So back on our topic today, where we are diving into the challenges and opportunities in residential development in South Africa. And our mission is really to foster collaboration between governmental stakeholders, the private sector, and developers, and really to overcome barriers and drive progress in housing projects. We're going to explore the diverse investment classes such as affordable housing, social housing, retirement, student housing, rural developments, residential developments, and we'll unpack residential to the T. And we'll also unpack innovative financing solutions to capitalize on promising opportunities across the residential value chain. Very important. And so we have the key stakeholders in the house, and they're going to be talking about the future. So first of all, I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists, starting with ladies first, to Corrine Breed-Remutler, and she's the co-founder of Circle Senior Living and the Ramson Cross Foundation, former COO at the Chevra Kadisha Group, and he's a healthcare innovator with a passion for philanthropy. Almost said philanthropic, it's actually philanthropy. Welcome to you, Corrine. It's wonderful actually having you here today. Do you want to welcome and say hi to the audience today?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neil. Such a pleasure to be here. Such an honor, actually, to be part of this Reside conference again. Last year was such a well-organized conference, and I think what the team did so well last year, and what I'm really looking forward to this year is fierce debate. You really managed to get so many, if not all, the different role players and the different sectors in one room. So it's not just about our own businesses, but it's about really networking and having conversations about how we can innovate in the space of property moving forward. So very excited to be representing not just Circle Senior Living, but the retirement sector as a whole. So looking forward to our conversation this afternoon. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely. Wonderful having you here, Corrine. Our next panelist is Professor Simpiwe Madikizela. He's an agricultural economist with extensive experience in rural development, project management, agricultural marketing. He's the co-founder of Sins and Zele Development Consultants, previously holding executive positions at DBSA, NHFC, and is now at FNB Housing Finance as project executive. Welcome to you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Neil. Very good afternoon to everyone on the call. It's such an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity. And this event, last year we started with a big bang, and I believe this year is getting better every time. So we're excited to be here. Looking forward to share with you. We're humbled to serve you. I'm privileged. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And it's absolutely a pleasure having you and an honor to have you here today. So then we can move on to Dr. Chris Mulder. He's a pioneer of self-sustainable communities. He's the founder of Crossways Farm Village There's a doctorate in environmental planning and urban design at Texas A&M University, already in 1980, and undertook post-doctoral studies at Harvard Graduate School of Design and at the University of Massachusetts before returning back to South Africa to his passion in architectural design and development. Welcome to you, Dr. Mulder. We hope we can hear you, Dr. Mulder. I think you probably found that mute button that you've been looking for all morning.
I found it. Thank you, Neil.
You did. You got it. Well, welcome to you.
And thank you. Starting with beauty and age before beauty and youth before age. So I'm on the queue here, and I'm very happy to be part of this Reside conference, telling or discussing my passion, which I've been busy with the last 20 years, rural development. Very few actions are happening in rural South Africa, and I've made it my job and my duty to try and develop the rural new towns in rural South Africa. That means outside the urban edge. I was discussing the urban edge. I want to discuss the urban edge, but I think it's important. And I want to discuss how communities over centuries develop and the reasons for it, and then go into what creates value into property as assets. There are a couple of things that creates value, and there are 4 values which I'll discuss. The quadruple net value. And once, if those values are not there, the property doesn't work. It doesn't matter if it's commercial, industrial, office buildings, whatever. If those values are missing, it will not work. And then I'll get to one of my pet subjects. It's RDP housing and the way we're doing it in South Africa, and why a lot of it's not working, and my suggestion on how we can make it work, and also rural new towns. That's what I've been busy with, and that's what I want to finish my professional life with. And I'm happy to share those ideas and discussions and open for comments.
Great. One absolute honor and a privilege to have you, Dr. Mulder. So we really look forward to that and to sharing that. So Karine, let's get straight into the question. Let's talk about the future residential developments. You're more in the retirement space, so your perspective comes from that. But I mean, tell us some about what are the key factors driving the residential development opportunities in South Africa.
Yeah.
And in
Thank
particular
you.
in your sector.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. I must say, Circle Senior Living is, the so to speak, a new kid on the block. At the moment, we opened our doors last year, September, but it's certainly an idea that's been more than 5 years in the making, with a lot of strategic thinking behind it, a lot of experience in building this new product. And the reason being, we know there's a new generation older person, a new generation retiree coming to the force that's looking for a new kind of product, which leads us to this wonderful opportunity of creating new solutions for older people. At the moment, we're seeing in the industry, if any one of our listeners close their eyes and think about even the word retirement or old age home, I bet you we would all come up with a very similar idea. And that's certainly not what we're trying to create anymore, and that's not what the market wants. The clientele is telling us that they're looking for facilities where they can age actively, where there's choice, where there's social activities, a space where it's not overlaid with so much care that it feels like it's a place where it's really the end. It's a place where there's still purpose. And interesting enough, and that's certainly something that Circle is capitalizing on, a lot of developers are staying away from the urban landscape when it comes to senior living. And we've certainly seen that there's a great need and a great activity in this, an opportunity in this urban setting for seniors, which is something that is new. Our first development is in the heart of Sandton, and It's pumping. And what you see is residents that actually loves the idea of a lock up and go. I get in my car, I can go and shop, and I come back home tonight, and I've got the assurance of care. I don't have to worry about load shedding. I don't have to worry about water. So, I mean, the opportunity is really there to resolve a bunch of, I want to call them unique South African challenges for our retirees, so that they can just enjoy this this new chapter in their lives.
Okay, wonderful. I think that's a great little introduction and insight, and it's a massively growing market, that retirement sector, and so certainly it's one that we've got to look at a lot more scientifically going forward. So,
Absolutely, Neil. Just on that, I mean, people throw the statistics around very loosely, but in South Africa alone, in the next 6 years, our population over the age of 60 is going to grow by just under 100%. We're going to have over 10 million people that is over the age of 60 that is going to need some kind of product offering and solution when it comes to care. At the moment, there's just over 5 million, and that's a staggering number. We're not talking about in the next 30 years, we're talking in the next 6 years. So it's really time for conferences like Reside, where we can open up conversation and where we can actually start collaborating around how do we work together to solve a real, not just opportunity in the market, but a real gap in the market when it comes to solutions for retirees.
Wonderful. And obviously we look forward to this ongoing conversation. Professor Simpiwe Madikizela, I mean, you've got a wonderful helicopter view, because you finance different developments in residential. And I mean, there's so many sectors, there's so many opportunities. We've got a massive housing shortage. So what are you seeing? What are the key factors that you're seeing in the future of residential development that we should be looking at?
Yes, thank you so much, Neil. And once again, thanks to the audience that's listening to us. I want to mention, obviously, I'm coming from a bank. We are open for business as banks. I know that the economy is not necessarily doing well at the moment. If you look on a year-on-year growth, we are 20% down if you compare last year to this year. But I'm here to tell you that we're open for business. I was looking at the stats, the latest stats from the different banks in terms of the approval. We are approving people who are looking for bonds. The lowest number was 62% of approval rates, meaning out of 10 people who've applied, at least 6 people and more are actually approved. That's an impressive stat. That's the lowest. If I look on the stats, 62%, 63%, the highest was 77% approval rate. Believe it, out of 10, more than 7 people are actually approved. So we are open for business and we are providing finance. We don't have a problem of money in this country. There's lots of money in all the banks and we are well regulated. We're responsible in our lending in terms of complying to the NCA, National Credit Act. So I want to encourage people to say, come and apply, and there is opportunities there, more especially in what we call affordable housing market or the gap housing market. So which comes in, we remember, if you're earning 0 to 3,500 income per month per household, that is what we call RDP market or BNG, breaking new ground. That's where you get a free house from the government. But from 3,501 income per month, all the way up to the highest income you can think of, we are open for business, we are assisting people, but we know at the upper income bracket, at the top, when you're affluent and wealthy, it's easy for those customers and people to actually qualify and get finance. But where it becomes a challenge, and which is an opportunity itself, is in the middle of affordable housing. Now, government has come with a product which is called First Home Finance now. Previously was known as FLISP. It's not new, it's been there since 2005. Now, this is for people who are earning 3,501 up to 22,000 income per month. you can get a subsidy up to the maximum of 169,000 rands. It's not to be paid back. It's not a loan. It's a grant. It helps you to deal with affordability, because we know that affordability is one of the challenges. But for the challenge, we have a solution for it. And then also as banks, we are able to give more than 100% approval to cover the costs, whether it's transfer costs, whether it's bond costs, when you buy a property. Even part of the subsidy I've mentioned, First Home Finance, now can allow you to use some of the money to cover the costs as well. So the opportunities are there, but as Neil has said, you can't sell houses which are not there. You've got to build houses. So the supply side of things, which is the building of the houses, creating of the new stock, very much we're involved there. We provide project finance, we provide development finance, which is simple money to build the houses, right? It's important these houses must be well located. They must be closer to the areas of work. There is what is called 40 by 40 by 40 by 40. Now the first 40 is 40 kilometers. Most people stay 40 kilometers away from work. We want them to be closer so that they don't travel a lot. The other 40 is 40% of the income that people use for transport. We want to reduce that so that you don't spend a lot of money traveling. And the other 40% is the size of the house, where you start 40%. Obviously, it goes 40 square meters. It goes up. You can go according to affordability to the highest house that you can afford. And all the other last 40 is the age group. So if you think about the PNG, Breaking New Ground, government has been saying that they want to give houses to people who are older, senior citizens, rather than the 40-year-old who can actually work. So we're saying to yourselves, we're open for business. There are many opportunities. What about green financing into the future, which is the whole issue of the climate change, reducing the carbon emissions so that we are responsible with the environment as well. So there are opportunities. What about solar finance? There's solar finance available from all the banks, solar bonds, green financing. Those are opportunities for the future, because we know that the energy is a challenge in the country. To solve for that, we've come up with products that are relevant, which will be there into the future. But also energy efficient products, whether it is for your water efficiency. We know water is a challenge as well in the country. Water harvesting, we've got to conserve the water. So there are opportunities to make sure that we are conserving our water efficiency, but energy efficiency, LED lighting, and so on, and all these solar financing, solar panels, combination of those. There's a project right here around N14 R28. It's called Country Garden Estates. Not far from Lanseria Airport. That's the first project which is off the grid. Off the grid, 100%. Believe me, you can go and visit. There, we're using ABT, alternative building technologies. So there are other ways of building. We know there's a backlog of 3 million houses backlog. The government has done very well from 1994, having built more than 5 million houses in partnership with private sector, with developers and contractors. But there's still a need, 3 million, huge backlog. So there are also other alternative building methods, quicker ways of building. You can do 3D printing, print a house. In 8 hours, you've got a house printed. Some of the opportunities and technologies, you can do a house in 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and so on. But all these must be accredited by agreement. They must be registered with the NHBRC, and then as the banks who are willing to finance, if there's accreditation and registration by the regulatory bodies, then we're willing to put the money there. So we're lending. Don't stay renting for a long time. Start early, create wealth. Start buying. First-time home buyers, we are assisting you. There's borrower education. We can take you by the hand and assist you, advise you where to buy, what to look at, what are the tips to qualify. But we prefer that you ask questions. We can share so much freely to you. There's so much that I can share, but I'll end it here because in the interest of time, so that we allow enough time for you to actually engage with us and ask questions. And then we can provide you more information. But we are excited. Call other people to join still. Don't miss the conference next month. Be there or be told. Thank you so much.
Great intro there, Prof. Madikizela. And I think there's a lot to talk around there, because you've mentioned quite a few things, a lot of innovative stuff happening there in different spaces. You mentioned printing, 3D printing properties and that kind of stuff, which is a whole discussion by itself, I think. But Dr. Mulder, I think you actually doing a lot of the things, and you're a pioneer in many sectors, particularly in the rural town sector. Tell us about where you spotted a gap. You're doing it. So tell us about these things that's happening in your area and how you got around to doing it. Just you need to unmute yourself, Doctor. I think now that you found that mute button, we can't get you to.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, you're right. I've spent, maybe it was ahead of the time, but I got my first negative decision from the authorities in the Western Cape in 2000, third one, 2006, where I applied for a rural new town. I wanted to concentrate the rest of my professional life at that time, after we finished Decent Island, Pazula, Belvedere, Fancourt, Reserve Bank in Pretoria, blah, 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 worked over the whole country. And then I started to focus on rural South Africa, because 40% of the people in this country lives in rural South Africa. I wanted to focus on displaced communities, people who were shifted out of the cities and the towns in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And there's lots of them. You can travel the N2, the old N2 from PE to Cape Town, or from East London to Cape Town, and see how many villages there are sitting next to freeways in the middle of nowhere, like the prof said, 30 kilometers away from work, 30 kilometers away from everywhere else. And I wanted to see if I can't do anything to help these people and help develop rural South Africa. And that was my whole passion. And I don't know if you can see this sign here on my wall. It says, "You're not old until you allow your regrets to replace your dreams."
Love it.
And it's not a regret, and I'm gonna, it's a dream that I've got to make this work. And fortunately, I haven't allowed it to replace my dreams, and I'll keep going until I've done it. So the Western Cape 3 times said, no, you can't do it. You're outside the urban edge. And I'll discuss that at the Resides seminar in detail. But I think we've created a unique model in funding a community, help funding the community like that through a development. And the model is that we've decided, and it's embedded in the title deeds of every owner or every person who buys in this first proclaimed rural new town, which is here in between PE and Jeffreys Bay now. And what we do is we pay 2.5% of every property we sell, vacant, in other words, undeveloped properties we sell. We as a developer pay 2.5% into the trust fund that we've created, the trust registered with the Master of the High Court. And if you buy here and you live here for a couple of years and you build a house on a vacant stand and you live here for 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years, and you sell and you go away, then you pay 0.5%, 0.5 of the now increased value. And that creates a tremendous, I didn't expect it, but it was a tremendous benefit, because I've created a constant income stream for the community forever, because it's embedded in the title deeds. And that's the model I'd like to discuss and tell people about. If they want to use it, they want to elaborate on it, they might make it better, that's fine. But that's what we're doing now. And we've got huge success with that. We can fund the trust now, which is a separate body. The trust can fund sports teams, soup kitchens, meritorious students, whatever they want to do. And we're now looking at breaking new ground in the community, building new houses. There's lots of vacant space there. And we're trying to get developers with us to develop and building those units and building that type of development concept that we got. We've got stands here on Crossways, which is smaller than an RDP stand. But it's a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. If you plan it correctly, and you design it correctly, 2 garages and regulation plans, guidelines and design guidelines, and that's what's missing if we don't do it correctly. And then I will address as well. And yeah, that's my passion, and I've decided to devote my whole rest of my life, my professional life, on making this work. And I've got no regrets yet, so I'm still dreaming. And I can't retire. because in Afrikaans, I kan nie aftree nie, want ek tree nou eers op.
That's wonderful. So it's your passion. It's absolutely your passion there, Dr. Mulder. And I think
Passion has nothing. For me, I've got nothing more to prove. I mean, we've been very fortunate and very blessed in our whole professional life and what we've done. From 1980, it's now, what, 44 years. We came back, my wife and I, after we went in America with 4 kids. And we started, and we've developed, fortunately, at one stage I had 4 offices over the whole country: Pretoria, Mossel Bay, Durban, and Cape Town. And we've been, and that's history. And I'm very happy with what we've done. Like I said, we've been very blessed. But this is my total focus now, and I want to make this work for the community, for the environment, for the province, for the country. And that's my hope.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. And I think it's such a noble purpose, and for that, and we're not gonna let you off there now, but I just want to start opening the discussion a little bit further. And yes, we do have limited time. So I want to say to everybody, first of all, if you do have a question that you would like to ask, please post it into that Q&A box. And I'm also going to encourage you to please come along to the Reside Summit in Johannesburg. It takes place from the 17th to the 19th of July, and it's at the Sandton Convention Center. And I encourage you to be there. Everybody who's in residential development from all sides is going to be there, including our panel over here. So please encourage you. There are incentives, half-price tickets that we've got to offer, which we'll offer again at the end of this webinar. And it's a great opportunity to see the people who are pioneering, making a big difference. So, Corrine, let's talk a little bit about the other side, because you as you know, the retirement sector. What are the main challenges facing you as a residential development, in South Africa, and how can you overcome these challenges, particularly in your sector?
Yeah, that's probably the one thing, Anil, that I'm so excited to again engage into further conversation at the conference because of the stakeholders that's there. First of all, I mean, we have the properties, and we've got the right properties in the right urban locations, but the process of zoning and actually getting us out of the starting blocks is quite an onerous process, difficult process, and it's almost like you've got everybody motivated, you've got the funding on board, but there's a sector that almost just doesn't want to assist you to kind of get started, So that's a massive challenge. Is the red tape around actually getting some of these projects started. It doesn't matter how noble your intentions are, how good your business case are. So big challenge. I can personally talk about our challenges with zoning. I mean, we have projects, as I said in the introduction. I mean, this Circle Senior Living has been 5 years in the making, and we have one property that it's taken us 4 years to get us to a point where we actually have zoning with the correct rights to start off, so big challenge. A second challenge is always in the senior living space. Is always staffing, and so you have developers that are so keen on joining and on developing. But there's very few operators, and Dr. Chris, that's where I've met Dr. Chris, actually, where we've discussed this in detail. Very few operators with a skill set of managing the care components of the senior living space. And, the medical or the healthcare space in our country is well regulated, but Neil, the one area that's not regulated is the caregiver training. So unfortunately, what happens with staff is, you have caregiver courses that's a week. You can become a professional caregiver within a week, or you can do a proper course that takes you a year. And so that's quite a challenge. And we find that developers are quite nervous when it comes to the care component. And we are certainly trying to close that gap and trying to fill the role of actually saying that's our happy space to actually manage the care side of things. And then I think something that almost speaks to some of the solutions that Dr. Simpiwe has spoken about is funding. You know, the moment that you are a retiree, and that's a big barrier to entry, is you unfortunately cannot get a home loan anymore. So we see a lot of people that's retired, that's ready to move into facilities, whether it's ours or another one. But unfortunately, with the current property market, they're struggling to sell their own properties. So they're really struggling to buy into one of these senior living or retirement estates. So that's also a barrier to entry. And I think one of the conversations that needs to take place are how can funders work together with developers and operators like ourselves to create products and to almost enable our seniors to not just buy into senior living facilities, but actually fund the care component, because you can develop a product offering that's more cost effective. Where it becomes really expensive is the care, because that's labor intensive. You know, you need an individual to assist you when you need assistance, and that's really a challenge. And I mean, it's a couple of big challenges, but it's not something that cannot be overcome. It just needs collaboration.
Wonderful. And I mean, we hope to tackle that in great depth at the Reside Summit.
Absolutely.
From the 16th. So Dr. Professor Madikizela, and you are the financier in the house. You mentioned earlier, obviously the economy, it's such an important thing. And I remember, I think it was 1992 when Bill Clinton, his sidekick, said about everything about winning the elections, and we just had an election. And he said, it's all about the economy, stupid. And we really need to focus on that economy. I mean, we still got a very high unemployment rate. You are very upbeat in terms of, first-home finance, which is great. And it's wonderful initiatives. But we do need to start creating employment. We do need to start getting impetus of unlocking capital, for those that don't have access to that capital. So maybe you tell us some of the challenges that you're facing from a financier in your sector.
Yes. No, thank you so much. I think from the consumer point of view, or the potential buyer, so we know that the consumer is under a lot of strain financially, right, because of the economy. I mean, if you look back, our interest rates were around 10% pre-COVID, right? And the government had to intervene and reduce the interest rates by 300 basis points from 10% to 7%, right? That was artificial. It was not meant to be permanent. It was a stopgap. It was temporary to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now interest rates have gone back now to be 11.75% as we speak now. But they've gone back to where they were supposed to have been pre-COVID, obviously slightly higher now. So we are optimistic that by the end of this year, around November or so, we should see, all things being equal, we should see a drop in the interest rates, but we know that these things depend on the international global issues. The US has got elections also in November. We've had our elections, which were peaceful, and we're grateful for that. And we know tomorrow we are looking forward, to have a new cabinet formed and all of that. So the investors are kind of waiting for clarity, but I'm positive, I'm optimistic, I'm confident, I'm upbeat that the future of this country is bright. So from now going forward, this was a turning point for us. We're going to have all the checks and balances with the government of national unity and so on. And I hope that we appoint competent people who know what they're doing, or qualified and so on. So I'm positive that going forward, things will get better. But talking about challenges, so one of the biggest challenges is then affordability. People are finding it difficult to qualify for the mortgages, for the bonds, right? Because there are high levels of indebtedness. People are in a lot of debt, right? But if you look at the stats, we've been in situations worse than that. If you go back to the global financial crisis, 2008, it was worse. You know, the household debt to income ratio was very high. I mean, in the 70s, 75, 78%. But if you look at the stats now, it's actually much lower than what it used to be. So there's still room for improvement there, right? So hence now an instrument like your First Home Finance, which deals with affordability, it's a government instrument. It works very well with the mortgage, the loan that comes from the bank. But we've also come up with the innovative products, right? Because we're talking about innovative finance. There's a product called collective buying. Collective buying allows up to 12 people, believe me, 12 people, 1, 2, they can buy together one property. An example, it can be a family, you know, it can be the parents, the father, and the mother. They can get together with their children, the siblings, the cousins, and so on, to deal with affordability. This can be a family home that you can buy where everybody stays together. It can be a holiday home, an investment property that can be put out there for letting. There's stock fails as well, stock fails, buying properties together, which can be companies, it can be groups of people that make up a stock fail. So there are also products like that which are innovative. You know, but you must know what you're doing, because it's nice when everything is going well. When there's conflicts now and so on, then it can get messy. So you have to think about it carefully to say, okay, fine. If the person wants to get married, how do they come out now and buy a different house with a new partner? So you must think about all those things, but the product is there, and it's working well. But it's not only problems we talk about, we also talk about solutions, right? So how do we solve it? The other challenge is the availability of stock on the supply side of things, because there's two sides. There's a demand side, the consumer. There's also the supply side. You can't sell or buy houses which are not there. So houses have to be built, right? So the lack of available stock, appropriately priced stock, high quality houses, well located, location is important. That 40 square meter house and 40 kilometers I spoke about, it must be in the areas. But now there are opportunities as well. If you look in the inner city, whether you take Johannesburg, whether you take Cape Town, whether you take eThekwini, whether you take GQ, Gqeberha, whether you take Buffalo City, East London in the Eastern Cape, all these Polokwane, Pietersburg, these areas, Nelspruit, different parts of the country, Bloemfontein, Mangaung, you mentioned all these places. There are opportunities there in terms of converting even the office accommodation. Some of the blocks which are there were office accommodation. You can convert these into residential units, you see, for nice flats and all of that. Those opportunities which are there that people must step into. So we're not here just to talk about problems. We're also offering the solutions there as well. So we have innovative ways of packaging and financing. You can have debt to equity structure, for example. Think about the developers where they can put skin in the game. They can have land, the developers, which they make available. Because if you look at the value chain of building a house, right, you need land. So well-located land, prime land. There's land which is in the hands of government, state-owned land, with entities like your Portnet, your Transnet, Department of Public Works, some of the municipalities, and so on. There is land available. So you've got your National Housing Development Agency as an entity. So the issue of collaboration and partnerships is important, that we work together there. The mandate of the HDA is to identify well-located land that can be prepared and get ready for development. The issues of approval of the EIAs, environmental impact assessment, approval of the plans by the developers, there we need to work together. I was speaking in February, end of February, in Kempton Park, you know, in a conference property summit with SALGA, South African Local Government Association, which is all the municipalities, the metros. It's crucial that we work together, that they do their part. These plans must be approved quickly with the developers and contractors as well. Let's work together. So it's land, but then you need bulk infrastructure. And the solution, you were talking about the economy earlier on. We've got to get the economy working. We must develop the economy. How do we do it? One of the things we must do, we must invest on bulk infrastructure development, economic infrastructure. We must invest into it. So there's MIG funding, municipal infrastructure grant, which comes from municipalities. We know it's not enough. You can top it up with your development bank of Southern Africa. Municipalities can borrow those that qualify. We know the finances are not so good in municipalities. We've seen the report from the Auditor General. See, but let's make it work. Let's work together. Have bulk infrastructure there. And then the internal services, the regulation now. within the structure and the building of the houses, top structure, the finishes. That's where the developers come in now. So if you get the cost of the land lower, bulk lower, you can come up with a product that's affordable, that people can qualify for, which is not too much high priced. So there are solutions to all these challenges, but the key is smart partnerships. Let's work together. That's why I'm excited about the future of this country, that we're going to have to work together. Even the political parties must work together for the benefit of this country. So let's build the economy. Skills development is important. Let's invest in human capital, in skills. That's what other countries have done, like Japan, other economies. They've invested in infrastructure. They've invested in human capacity or human skills, capital. We need skills for the future. Talking about the fourth industrial revolution now. We need relevant skills which are for the future, demand-driven skills, skills which are relevant for the market, for the future. You talk about blockchain, you talk about the Internet of Things. We need those skills, the developers, the programmers, the system analysts, engineers, project managers. We need projects which are properly managed, finished on time, quality, and don't run over the project, the cost overruns because of these inefficiencies. So we must sort out these inefficiencies in the value chain through working together. Let's have conversations. We're not here to criticize people and so on, but we have to call a spade, not something to dig. There's a problem. Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. Let's work together and let's make sure that we win. So I think let me end it there and give an opportunity
Absolutely.
for
I think wonderful. I think a very powerful message here, Professor Madikizela, and we need to get to government ears there. And I think what you've done now, you've played right into the hands of Dr. Chris Mulder, because he's a pioneer in this space, and he's doing a lot of the things already, what you've said. And he's kind of saying, well, this is the way we want to move. But, it's not an easy process, Dr. Mulder. So maybe just tell us a little bit more. What are the challenges you're facing? But also you've done this whole community engagement thing, and you've done so many different initiatives. So maybe just share us some of, how you see that, what your challenges are and how you're addressing it and turning it around.
Yeah, Neil, first of all, I'm sorry the Prof and I haven't met 5 or 6 years ago. It was not easier. We could have talked and I've met.
Well, you're going to see him in Johannesburg, so which is great, which is positive. But so there's still time.
Doreen mentioned that it takes so long to get through the approval process, And I was thinking while she was talking, on Teeson Island, it took me 9.5 years.
Wow.
To get the approval.
Wow.
We applied in 1991, just 1990, and by the end of 2000, by the beginning of 2000, we had the approval. So it took us almost 9 years to get the approvals. We sold and built it out in 8 years. And that's my experience with all these, the three applications in the Western Cape for this rural new town concept. Didn't work out. They couldn't get approval because of the urban edge policy. I'll talk to that at the conference. And then I decided to look for an impoverished community in the Eastern Cape next to the freeway or a decent site. And I was introduced to Crossways, and a beautiful site. And we've applied. And eventually we got the approval 4.5 years. But it said, you can do it, sir. But we can't give you water, sewer, power, electricity, nothing. You've got to do everything yourself, which was unheard of 10 and 11 years ago. Totally unheard of, never done in the country before. But we've applied. I like the site, and it's such a phenomenal property and atmosphere and where it's located. And we've got the village, Thornhill, close to us. And we decided to accept the challenge. And we did, in fact, install our own power station, substation. We had installed our own water purification plant. We installed our own sewer treatment plant. We got a potable water treatment plant. And all of a sudden, which was unthinkable of, unheard of 10, 12 years ago, the fact that we're now in the situation with Eskom and a lot of the municipalities that can't provide the services, we're sitting here providing our own services, doing our own thing, and managing our own thing, incrementally improving it. We test and we supply and we fit in with the value chain. We fit in with the conditions, with all the environmental conditions and legal conditions. And now we have the situation and they couldn't get the fiber from Cape Town to Durban without crossing our land. And all of a sudden, we had the opportunity to give the people for the main fiber a way leave, and they gave us a fiber takeoff point. So we're a rural new town with the fastest fiber you can get in the country. And it all happened over time. It was unthinkable 10 years ago. We're getting overseas people now buying here saying, hey, if you got fiber, you got security, you got secured services, you provide all the services all yourself. It's not a bad place to live. And we can work from home. During COVID, before COVID, it was unthinkable that people can work from home. And within 18 months, we all learned that you can work from home if you got the fiber and the access to internet. And that's what we're providing now, and we're doing it, and all of a sudden, things that were unheard of 10 years ago now seems to be, oh, it's working. And we don't brag about it, we just do what we're told, and we do our own services. We design today to install with a new technology sewer treatment package plants and this decentralized services. That's one thing we've got to prove. Decentralized services. What does that mean? On a big property like this of 600 hectares, undulated land, rivers and ravines and indigenous forest and all kinds of forest. We have a farm. We've got 120 hectares of irrigated pastures. We've got small houses, big houses, small plots. We even got an airstrip now. Planes are landing on the airstrip. There are a couple of big stands for airplane people. There are medium stands, there are small stands. That's my mix. And I'll never do development without that mix, because it's an inclusive community, allowing for all kinds of people. And I'm very interested to talk to the prof when I see him in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, that this is what we can do. And with the community, I'm sure we can do it, but we're getting there. And it just takes time with the approvals, unfortunately, but that's the system, and you got to go through the system and try and make it work. But I think there's a bigger understanding of what we're doing now. And we've just been, the one that was denied in the Western Cape in 2006, we're starting again. Because of the fact that we can now involve a local community, create a trust, uplift the community, create income, create an inclusive community from stands like smaller than RDP to 5,000 square meters to a hectare. Depending on what you want, depending on your income, that's fine. We all live here and we all can do it. And that's my model. If this model works, then anybody can implement it in rural South Africa, and that will be my dream.
Well, I think, Dr. Mulder, you know, what you didn't mention is, you know, because we spoke a little bit about the economy where where you're bringing in towns, hamlets, you know, you bring it all together, but you're also creating employment. You're using local knowledge and you're using local employees, and also, you know, the skills and everything. You're not importing stuff. You're creating it locally. Just share a little bit about that.
I forgot about that. We have a standard credo or a motto we design as labor intensively as possible. And people said, you're crazy. You know, the whole world is mechanizing and getting automated, but we design as much labor intensive work as possible. For instance, our street lights. We design the street lights with wood. There's lots of wood on the farm, gum trees, pine trees, wattles, whatever. And I've got SMMEs in Thornhill cutting the wood, making the street light with the wood fitting, and then another guy doing the steel work and the weld work and the galvanizing steel work. He's a welder. Another guy makes the footing of concrete, of an empty paint can and concrete in a wheelbarrow, mix the concrete, make the footing. So we take the footing and put the wood over the steel, and they only buy the light fitting. 400 street lights made locally by SMMEs instead of importing it from Europe. If we do a roadway and we can do it with brick pavers, I make the decision, let's do a brick paved road. Why? Because then the SMMEs come and build the brick paved roads. We do the big machines, the compacting in the front, and they come and pack the roads, and they go and they get work. And we can even do it in the future, not now, and will be soon, with refuse removal. We can create 3 or 4 small appointed contractors as refuse removal contractors. Get everybody a battery operated little vehicle, and that precinct, that suburb is yours. You're the refuse removal contractor there. That suburb is yours. You're the refuse removal contractor there. Instead of having a big truck And a refuse truck, we can do it small and we can repackage the waste, and we can even the technology again is there with waste management and carbon credits, like the Prof mentioned. That's what we need to get into. And that then we can make rural South Africa work. And I think that's the important message that I'm trying to convey.
Wonderful. Okay, it is a great message. So what I think most important, we got the people here who want to drive this narrative over here. So we've I cannot believe it, the Times has run away with us. It's just like we got 5 minutes to go. But what I'm going to do is we're not going to deal with any questions. And so what we're going to do is ask each one of you just to give your sort of a minute and a half wrap, your final wrap, leaving the people with their final thoughts in terms of the way forward for residential development. I mean, there have been some really, really good ideas here that's been shared. And I think we're going to, just for the audience, we're going to go in great detail at the Reside Summit. I encourage you all to attend. There's a 50% discount on the tickets. The code is actually in the chat box. You can just get that information there. And we're going to go in great depth. We're talking about 4.5 days of discussion, of in-depth discussion, looking at investments, talking to municipalities, talking to all the residential developments, looking at RE tech, looking at all those different sectors. So, Corinne, I'm going to ask you just to give your minute and a half wrap, and then you, Prof. Madikizela, and then finally you, Dr. Mulder, and just in closing for this event before we go to our live conference on the 16th. Corinne,
thank you, Neil. Thank you. I absolutely love the conversation this morning and the opportunity. And I am, as the CEO of Circle Senior Living, am so passionate about creating products for seniors in our country. I believe that there's an opportunity to collaborate. And actually, if we listen to what the Prof said, I immediately thought even our government, our whole landscape in our country has changed to collaboration. And I think that is the theme for the future of our country. We have done so much research about senior living and about what needs to happen. So really looking forward to engaging with all the different stakeholders at the Reside conference. If you want to talk about the senior living space, want advice, come and reach out, and really looking forward to engaging in a couple of weeks' time.
Wonderful, great, and wonderful CEO of Circle Living, Corinne Breed-Ramotla. Thank you very much. Okay, then Professor Madikizela, your closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much. There's so much to touch on. I think, Corinne, on the senior living, as a banks, you can actually buy property for as long as up to the age of 75 years, you can pay it off. So, and also we can assist you. There's quick sell where you can give the bank a mandate, you can help to sell property and so on. So there are solutions there, but we have not touched a lot of stuff. What about rental? The rental market stats from PayProp have been released in the last few days. It's a bit down because of the economy. Not everyone is going to buy a house. Some people want to rent for whatever reason. They might have a house at home and so on. We've not even touched there. There's lots of opportunities there. You might buy a second property, rent it out, generate income. And what about the existing properties in the townships? 7 to 10 million debt capital there, which you must unlock under the 99-year lease. So if we deal with title deeds there, people can then extend, create jobs. It helps the economy locally. There's so much that we can talk about. Come to the conference next month. We unpack it to you. We're going to go into more details. But thank you so much for attending. An honor and a privilege on my side. Thanks.
Yes, great having you, Professor Sampiwe Madikizela. He's the project executive of FNB Housing Initiative. So thank you for being here. And then, of course, last but not least, Dr. Chris Mulder, we want to maybe give us your final thoughts, leave everybody with inspiration to come and see, because I think you first up on Wednesday morning. You're going to lead the conference from the front. So maybe to leave us your final thoughts, and we could leave people with something to take away and say, I'm coming, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. I'm really super excited to get to the conference. I think that with the people there and the interaction, we can all learn from each other. I still learn from everybody. And what we're doing is not a singular professional. It's not an architect or urban designer or engineer or ecologist or an economist or whatever. It takes a multi-purpose team to design and develop a decent development. It's not a singular profession. And that's what I want to explain and how we do it. And yeah, I'm very happy to be there. I will also introduce my life philosophy, which is sometimes in life, you're faced with an opportunity and a risk. And you have to decide, and you have to dare to take the risk or lose the opportunity. To dare is to risk losing your foothold for a moment. Not to dare is to risk losing yourself. And that's what I've done my whole life, and fortunately it worked for me. Yeah, we took risks, and we were almost down and out sometimes, and then it works. There's a reason why it works, because the time is not right. And I think the time is right for this now. And that's why I'm so excited to get to the conference.
Wonderful. Excellent. What a way to finish. And so to our panelists, again, thank you very much. Dr. Chris Mulder, founder and CEO of Crossways Farm Village. And he's going to kick off our conference on Wednesday, the 17th of July. As I say, there's a 50% discount. We'll see you there. We're going to go in great depth over there. So just before we close, I want to remind our audience of our next events and webinar. In fact, next Thursday, we got part 2 of the Reside Summit, and this is the prelude to PropTech, which is our RE Tech event, which is Friday, the 19th of July, which starts at 8 until 1 p.m. So we're doing a half-day conference because we know everybody on a Friday afternoon wants to disappear. So, but please, it's going to be very interesting. It's called Unlocking Innovation, the Future of PropTech in South Africa. And we're once again going to have 3 panelists. And once again, for our people that want to attend the Reside Summit, attend this one too. It's really going to be insightful. What are the innovative sector? In fact, Prof. Madikizela actually mentioned some of the stuff which is already impacting from a technology point perspective. So to register, there is a link which is in the chat box, and otherwise you just go to rei.co.za for the events. You also see there's an awards evening that is on Thursday, the 18th of July. We also encourage you to attend that. That's a separate awards. I think, Debbie, and I'm actually putting myself at risk here, if there is somebody that still wants to enter the awards, we will take it. Probably tomorrow will be the absolute final deadline. But you'll see behind me, there's a QR code, which is just on my other way around. And where you'll see on my left-hand side of the screen, where you can just use the QR code, and that will give you all the different sectors that you can actually enter. So we're going to be recognizing excellence on that evening. It's a celebration of excellence in South Africa's residential sector, recognizing the leaders, the innovators that are making a positive impact on the lives of South Africans. And as I mentioned, that's going to be on the Thursday evening. And so yes, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you would like to submit. It's a nominal fee to enter. Just submit it, enter. Really, really cheap, but not about that. It's about the recognition, and it's about that. So we look forward to seeing you at the Reside Summit. We're all really excited. And once again, thank you to our panelists today. It's wonderful. To our audience, we appreciate your active participation and that you act on this knowledge. If you want to reach out to any of the panelists, then just email info@rei.co.za or email us. We are on our list. And once again, to our panelists, Corrine, Dr. Chris Mulder, and Professor Simpiwe Madikizela, Neil Peterson, with the rest of you, we're signing out. Until next time, and our conference on the 16th to 19th of July, you stay informed, stay proactive, and may your ventures in real estate be fruitful. Take care and goodbye until next week. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.